Ratan Tata.
Tata Group.
I mean, in India, those practically go hand in hand.
Right.
But there's so much more to him than just the business side. And that's kind of what we're looking at today, especially now, just a few days after his passing, October 9th.
Yeah, his passing really does feel like the end of an era, and there's a lot more to him than, like you said, those headlines about business deals and all that.
Way beyond, way beyond. And that's what's so fascinating, right? That we're going past the boardroom, past the typical articles. We're talking biographies, his personal investments even.
Yeah.
What made him tick? What do you say? Ready to kind of unearth those layers?
Let's dive in, right? And it all starts way before he was even, heading up Tata Group, 1937, born in Mumbai. And not just any family, right? The Tata family. Parsi, Zoroastrian, prominent. I mean, talk about kind of a path set out for you.
You're practically destined for greatness.
Yeah.
It's in the name. But his childhood wasn't all privilege and, smooth sailing. Didn't his parents separate when he was fairly young?
They did. 10 years old. 10 years old. And that, that's got to leave a mark. His parents, Naval and Suni Tata, separated, and he was raised by his grandmother, Navajbai Tata. Now, she was something else, the widow of Ratanji Tata himself.
Wow. So raised by the matriarch of the family, I mean, you have to wonder how much did that shape his worldview to have that kind of influence at such a young age?
Right. And then layer on top of that his education, because we all, hear about the architecture degree from Cornell. But to get there, he's going to school in Mumbai, then Shimla, then Riverdale Country School in New York City.
It's so interesting, isn't it? You've got this young man, weight of the world, the Tata legacy on his shoulders, and he decides, you know what? I'm going to study architecture. Not business, not finance, architecture.
It speaks to kind of that independent streak, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. But I see something more there. I see a connection. Think about how he approached Tata Group later. Streamlining it, unifying the brand, this cohesive image. That's an architectural approach, if you ask me.
You're right. Seeing the big picture, the structure, how it all fits together.
Exactly. So, 1961, he does join Tata, but he doesn't just stroll into the big corner office, does he?
No, not at all. This is where we see that hands-on approach. Starts on the shop floor, Tata Steel.
Really? Getting his hands dirty.
He wanted to learn it all from the ground up. Not just, the what, but the how and the who.
Okay.
Connecting with the workers, understanding the backbone of the operation.
Such a powerful lesson in leadership, right? You can't lead from some ivory tower. You have to get it. But 1991, J.R.D. Tata retires.
Yeah.
He steps in as chairman. Those are some massive shoes to fill.
Monumental. And he was met with resistance almost from the get-go.
Really? I mean, that makes sense, I guess.
The subsidiary heads, they were used to a lot of autonomy under JRD.
So how'd he navigate that with this vision of his, of a unified Tata Group? That's a recipe for some clashes,
Oh, absolutely, it was. And you know what he did? He brought in a retirement age.
That almost seems like a small thing in the grand scheme, right?
It was, but brilliant. See, by doing that, he's bringing in new people, fresh perspectives, people who are more on board with his way of thinking.
So out with the old guard, in with the new. It's a power play, sure, but it's also a way to really reshape how the company works.
Exactly. And he didn't stop there. He made the subsidiaries report directly to the group office. No more silos. And here's the kicker they had to contribute their profits to actually building the Tata Group brand.
He saw the power of the whole, right? Like not just these separate pieces, but Tata as this force. Again, very architectural.
Absolutely. And this wasn't just about looking good on paper. This was about changing how the world saw Tata. And it worked, because then you get to those major acquisitions.
Okay, yeah, we're talking Tetley.
Yeah.
We're talking Jaguar Land Rover, Chorus. I mean, these are huge GE names and across such different industries. It's kind of all over the place.
It seems that way, but there's a rhyme and reason. Take Tetley. Tea. I mean, it's in India's DNA, right? And Tata Tea, they were huge domestically, but Tetley, global. That acquisition put them on the world map.
Take something you're good at, make it global. Smart. What about Jaguar Land Rover? That must ruffle some feathers, no?
For sure. This one was a long game. He saw the way the auto industry was changing, saw potential there, even though they were struggling. A gamble that paid off.
And talk about, from a pure business perspective, brilliant. But you got to admit, there's almost this poetic justice to it all. Indian company acquiring these, icons of British industry.
A little bit of irony there.
Yeah.
And then Chorus, steel. This was about Tata Steel being a global force, no longer just, oh yeah, they make steel in India. No, this was big leagues.
Every acquisition, another piece of his vision falling into place.
Yeah.
And of course, we can't forget the Tata Nano, his baby, the car for everyone,
Yeah.
affordable.
So ambitious. And yeah, it had its hiccups along the way, but the goal, the heart behind it, he wanted to make a difference in people's lives. Really, truly.
Captured the imagination, I think, of a whole nation, even if it didn't, take off the way he'd hoped.
Absolutely. It's that legacy, right? More than just a businessman. He wanted to uplift, to change things.
Which brings us to, well, a bit of a bump in the road, the whole Cyrus mystery situation.
Oh, yeah. That was, well, it was something else, wasn't it?
For anyone who, wasn't glued to the business pages back then, what happened? Give me the rundown.
So 2012, Ratan Tata, he steps down, passes the torch, so to speak, to Cyrus Mystery. Relative, but, not exactly a household name at that point.
Hey, back up.
2016, Tata Sons board. They oust him, and things get, well, messy fast.
Boardroom brawl.
Full-on legal battle, all the way to the Supreme Court, mismanagement, accusations flying everywhere. And right in the middle of it all, Ratan Tata, he steps back in. Interim chairman.
Wow. Talk about dedication. This wasn't just, numbers on a spreadsheet. This was personal.
Oh, absolutely. His name was on the line, his family's legacy.
And the verdict.
Took a while, but the Supreme Court, they sided with Tata Sons, upheld Mystery's removal.
Wild time. Yeah. But I think it shows how much he cared, about Tata Group. I mean, to step back in after all that, shows he wasn't just going to walk away.
He put too much of himself into it to just wash his hands of it.
And it's interesting, right? Because that same drive, that dedication, it went beyond Tata Group, too. The man was quite the investor on his own time.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder what he saw outside that whole world.
You do see a different side to him in his investments. A little more playful, maybe? Unexpected, even?
Oh. Like what? Give me the good stuff.
Well, he had a nose for startups, like way before it was, the cool thing to do. Invested in Snapdeal, Ola Cabs, early on, even Xiaomi back in the day.
Wow. Talk about seeing the future. Most of us hadn't even heard of those names back then. He's like, yeah, I'm going to get in on that.
Right. But the one that always gets me is T-Box. It's this online platform selling premium Indian tea, ships it all over the world.
Okay, yeah. That's very full circle, isn't it?
Yeah.
Tata Tea, T-Box.
It's like a three-line. Tradition, his own history, but with this modern, tech twist. And then there's DogSpot.
DogSpot. Okay, now that one I don't get.
Right. Real estate, pet care, all online. A little out there, but it shows you he had a sense of humor about it all and, loved his dogs, clearly.
Makes him human, right?
Yeah.
Not just this titan of industry. But speaking of the human side, we can't not talk about his philanthropy.
Oh, it was core to him, like really deep down. And not just donating money, he wanted to be involved, to see it make a difference. Education, medicine, rural development especially. The Tata Trusts, that was a big part of it.
Right. Those were huge, especially for universities all over the world.
He believed in it, Education, research, that's how you solve the big problems. Cornell, obviously, set up a whole scholarship fund there, specifically for Indian students. Then you've got the University of New South Wales, Water Solutions, super important, and UC San Diego, the Tata Institute for Genetics and Society.
I've heard of that, yeah. Amazing work they do there.
Disease control, agriculture, stuff that can change millions of lives.
He was playing the long game, even with philanthropy, not just a quick fix, but real lasting change.
Exactly. And he stayed involved, advised them, especially on, anything to do with India. He wanted to get it right, to make a real impact.
It's more than just giving back. It's like sharing his knowledge, his experience, so others can benefit. Really incredible. And I mean, we'd be here all day if we listed every board he was on, every organization he touched.
Don't forget the Pritzker Architecture Prize.
There it is. That architecture, it pops up everywhere with him. Just shows how curious he was, how much he enjoyed learning.
He was a fascinating guy, really. Full of these contradictions. Architect, but a business mogul. Billionaire. Lived pretty simply from what I've read. Tough in the boardroom, but such a big heart when it came to helping others. Hard to define his legacy.
And that's what makes it so interesting to dig into, right? It's not just a company, it's a person, a life. Ratan Tata, he shaped the world in so many ways.
Never stopped learning, never stopped giving. That's quite a legacy when you think about it.
And for everyone listening, don't stop here. Keep digging. There's so much more to discover about this man. Till next time, keep diving deep.